Welcome everybody to the fourth online learning and exchange meeting of CEC Europe. I'm glad we're here with a special group of people from all over Europe, and also with our special guest Georgina Spires of Zoological Park Attica, and who will share the learning programs they use and developed to involve youth. A special story, I can tell you, from what I've heard so far. So we're lucky to be able to hear it firsthand. So we do a small round of introduction where we each say our name, the organization, and where we're based. And afterwards, Georgina has the floor to give her story and share her experiences and lessons. And afterwards, we have an open discussion. It's simple as that. And I'm very happy we can do this and that you're all on board. So my name is Peter Paul van Kempen. I'm an independent consultant and trainer, and I'm based in Amsterdam. Ananya.
Yeah.
Can you introduce yourself and where you're based?
So I'm Ananya Mukherjee from the University of Surrey. I'm based here in the UK, and I'm joining this meeting for the first time. And I hope to learn a bit more about what's going on in the CEC meeting.
Good. Oh, great that you're here. Thank you. Andrew.
Environmental science at the University of Derby. I've taught conservation biology for 20 years, and it's also my first time here at this meeting. So again, I'm looking to get more involved in the CEC. Thanks.
Thank you, and great that you're here. Burcu.
Hello, I'm Burcu from Nature Playhouse, and I'm based in Istanbul. Look forward to meeting you all better.
Nicholas Watts, can you introduce yourself?
Well, thank you for that. Nicholas Watts, Institute of Commonwealth Studies in London, UK.
David.
Hello, my name is David Makar. I'm a biologist and biology teacher, and I'm based in Toulouse, in France.
Great to have you on board. Evropi. Sofia, shortly introduce yourself.
I'm Evropi. I'm in Thessaloniki, Greece. I'm a PhD candidate in environmental agriculture and education in Aristotle University of Thessaloniki. And I am a freelancer environmental instructor.
Okay, great to have you on board. Thank you. Gavin.
Hi, I'm Gavin Montgomery. I'm a senior communications manager in the insurance industry based in Zurich, and I'm primarily concerned about how we talk about and engage people around risk topics.
Okay, very specialized subject. Interesting. Maybe we can give some attention to that one of these meetings. Jim, welcome on board. Can you shortly introduce yourself?
Hello, Jim Mitchell from New Forest National Park Authority. I lead on interpretation and outreach work, and I'm primarily interested in how we connect people to protected landscapes across Europe and indeed across the world.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we move on to Philippe.
Hi, I am Philippe Charrier. I live currently in Cyprus, where I work mostly for land degradation and restoration programs.
Okay, thank you. Great to have you here.
It's pronounced Fairuz.
Okay.
Hi, so I live in Geneva in Switzerland, and I am a teacher, and I did my master's degree in environmental education in London.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Everyone, my name is Georgina Spires. I am head of education at the Attica Zoological Park and based in Greece, in Athens. But my background is scientific, and I'll be sharing my story here with you.
Okay. Well, this is, I think, a good time also to start sharing your story.
So, I'm working at the Attica Zoo, Attica Zoological Park. This is a young zoo that was opened in the year 2000, so it's less than 20 years old. And essentially what I'd like to share with you is a recent program that we have organized and developed on youth engagement, and it's essentially a service learning program in order to help youth develop their what we call bilingual skills. So myself and my colleague Dragana Zauri, who is married to a Greek but has been living here in Greece for a long time, but she's from Serbia, has been involved in this program, and some other colleagues as well. And this is also a bilingual program. It's in English and Greek. So first of all, the zoo is a very unique environment, as we are all aware. We are members of the European Association of Zoos and Aquariums and follow basic criteria for welfare. And it is an environment where people come to really have a good time and to come into contact with with the animals. It's not that easy to incorporate wildlife in your daily routine. So this is a place that enables that. So we do have people that are very attracted. Our main audience here at our zoo are essentially is mothers with younger children, and the schools that book sessions and programs with us are mainly up to the elementary school level. So they're from anywhere from babies, of course, until 12 years old. And we do have nice programs that are developed for them, various activities that incorporate the arts and of course contact with animals and making devices, enrichment devices we call them, to put into the enclosures. We have school lessons and everything. But what we found was, and zoo camps as well, but what we found was that the youth that are from 12 to 18 years old essentially were not, engaged in any way. Whereas we have, for over 18-year-olds, we have the ability to intern with the zookeepers and become a volunteer. So there's a program there. And so there were children that were with us from a very, very young age, and then they were doing the zoo camp and going through the process and all the levels. And then they finished zoo camp and they said, well, now what? These were devoted kids and people that were continued to be interested in what we have to offer here, and they wanted to do something. So unofficially, they started assisting with our zoo camps, and they they became young leaders. And I'll talk about how the program developed, but essentially a lot of these kids are, first of all of them are interested in wildlife, and they might want to become vets in the future. They want to interact with the animals that we have here. They want to learn how to care for them better. They want to learn more about environmental sciences. But many, a lot of them are actually on the fringe of their own group in school, let's say. They can be academically and socially challenged. We find that we have kids here that are somewhat unique, with these interests. They don't go along always with the grain and with the flow. And so some of them have some serious learning difficulties and differences that are shared with us by the parents. And of course, this environment is conducive to them feeling better, let's say. So this is what is communicated by the parents. So we do have a range of individuals, but we do have a lot of children that are more sensitive to nature, more maybe compassionate. So essentially, we're kind of like a magnet attracting, a certain audience that is probably already fairly sensitized. But some children come for their service. They come from their school. They have the International Baccalaureate program, which is kind of preparing them for their entry into university. A lot of kids do this, and it's an English program, English-speaking program, and they are obliged to go for creativity, action, and service hours that they have to record and log in as a project. And so forging partnerships with schools that have these programs can be very, very useful and effective in actually reaching out to these kids. And so reaching out to the principals, reaching out to the school, to the teachers, and bringing these kids in to do environmental service essentially could be a way to get them to be more involved, whereas they might not be. So a lot of the kids that have gone through this service learning program have progressed in a very exciting way. One specific person, whom we'll call Z, he first came here, I think about 3-4 years ago, as a bit of awkward young person, as you know, teenagers are most of the time, not doing very well in school. And just to cut the long story short, he recently, just a few days ago, he came to treat us with sweets, telling us that he got the second best scores passing into the agricultural university in his exams. Essentially, he did amazingly well. We were all excited. His family is ecstatic, and he's very committed to his work here. He was socially challenged in the sense that, just in the sense that he was very, very shy, wasn't able to speak in front of visitors or to present. And now, of course, we see him creating presentations, getting up to speak to visitors when they come into the education center. So we've been witnessing a lot of progress with the children here and with the students, and this is very exciting for us. One particular student has gone on to be hired by the Birds of Prey flight presentation section here at the zoo. Another student who was actually a chemistry student of mine when I was at university, she went on to do wildlife management, and now she's seasonal staff. She comes and helps in the education center in the summertime. So we're very, very pleased to be forging these interpersonal relationships with these people, because we see that we're all getting something out of it. Now, essentially, for this program, we try to keep our eyes on the target. As we say, we essentially want the students to mainly gain skills for sustainability leadership. I'm not very versed on the correct terms to use, but essentially, from what I understand, it's important to be a leader in order to push forth, that important agenda of having a sustainable world and lifestyle. So we incorporate a lot of social activities like team bonding and communication exercises and videos and anything that we can find that is essentially useful for these students to develop their skills in leadership. And of course, being in this environment, we do lessons on environmental education. We have various topics that we'll go over in a minute. And we also, through my colleague who's a biomimicry fan, we try to get the children to think out of the box so that they are able to change that the status quo, at least in their head, so that they can start looking into nature for inspiration on how we can do things differently in order to tackle these wicked problems that we're facing and that we will be facing. And of course, in order to build community resilience, in order to build that resilience, it's very important for the students to build certain skills. I mean, we even teach them how to use tools, how to build a fence, how to build a rabbit hutch, how to build bird boxes, how to just empowering them to actually understand that they have the capability and through their social network, they can actually make a difference. So some practical aspects on the program is that, first of all, it's fairly flexible in the sense that, we have to respect these teenagers and their academic program. So on the weekends, a lot of them are having various activities that are almost essential for school. And so we have an annual program where kids can come in on either every Saturday or every other Saturday or every other Sunday. And then we also have weekly programs. So on their holidays over the summer, and they can sort of do a crash course during the week. But there are some students that are so interested in being here and doing this work that they actually opt for the annual program and they come regularly. It's financially accessible. It's actually it's 80 euros for the whole year, so it's easy to cover that cost. It's learning with nature. That is our utmost priority, making sure that they have as much contact with nature and wildlife as possible. although we are still developing the program. The program has been now official for about 3 years, and we're still, working on it. It's personalized and self-paced. Essentially, they have 3 paths to choose from. One is being a young leader with younger children and doing, teaching skills or classroom management skills or arts and crafts with them, or just, interacting or teaching them. The other one is the young researcher. And I'll talk about what we do there. And the last one is young intern. And the young intern is mainly assisting everyone else and also contributing to the organization of the education center, learning some office skills, and really supporting, the work, and also taking care of our pets and speaking to visitors. So there's a lot of communication and organization skills that are developed there. It's very important for this to be monitored and mentored. We are passionate individuals. We all love what we do. We're quite disciplined. I'd like to think that age has something to do with it as well, but we're all in our 40s. I've sort of tried to run programs with younger people, and it's always very exciting, but sometimes, with any age, it's so important to have the maturity necessary to, when you're dealing with younger individuals and mentoring. So maturity is very, very important. And we also try to have fun. It's really, really one of the key factors. It's a multicultural project. Anyone can basically join that lives in Athens and can make it to the zoo. It's cross-curricular, so we approach, all these natural sciences and anything dealing with nature from many different disciplines. So we even incorporate sociology because we do visitor studies with our students, the visual arts, but we of course emphasize the topic of zoology. So as mentioned before, we have 3 paths. The pictures that you see here, this is Lydia. She loves helping out with the arts and crafts. She's a star person. And then on our right, this is many, many years ago when we first started unofficially. This is Nico, and he's quite young, but when you have a young leader giving some basic information to the zoo campers and younger kids, it's kind of there's a chemistry there that is really special. So I love this picture because he's talking about the snakes of Greece, and this was his passion back then. So the topics that we cover, especially with our service learning students that are on the annual program, are plastic pollution. Essentially, we provide alternatives to the students. We find that, and I think it's fairly well known that if you just talk about something and you do not provide the solutions, then it's very difficult for someone to really learn how to break a habit or how to modify it and break free from it. So essentially, we have these spaghetti, special spaghetti pasticcio, we call it in Greek. It's pasticcio number 5 for Evropi, Sofia, if she wants to know. And we have this in our cupboard here, and we give metal bottles to every student that signs on. We have reusable cups so that when they go to get their drink, they can use a reusable cup, use a plastic straw, and have know that they can make that difference. And we've heard from families that they've also made the change because it's something that's fairly easy. Animal welfare is a very, very big topic. Most of our kids end up doing ethograms and observing animals. A lot of them end up shadowing our vets. We create many enrichment devices, so it's a lot of fun doing these sorts of things. And then, of course, observing the animals to see how they respond to the design of the enrichment. As mentioned before, scoping nature solutions for human problems. Something that's really very simple and very interesting was observing feathers, what the colors are, essentially, how they're made, if they're synthetic or synthesized rather by the animal, or whether they are structural. And there are experiments that you can do with pH to see if they're dissolving in the water. So we do various experiments here. We focus a lot on the exotic pet trade and invasive species because we get a lot of abandoned pets here that are invasive, and also protection of wildlife. So these are the topics. And we have a lot of reward. So we have a 100-hour achievement mark. They get a free annual card, a t-shirt, and a bottle. We involve them in decision making. So if we're going to get new t-shirts, we say, okay, what color would you like? So they feel, that they're engaged in all the process of the program. We showcase their activities on social media, and they get very excited because they feel like superstars. And we have a lot of good collaborations with local museums, NGOs, the local library, different schools, the University of Athens, and we have international collaborations. We play many games. We try to play as many games as possible. There's also chocolate involved, so that really helps the situation. And we have celebrations. We go to workshops and fairs. The Athens Science Festival, we participated with an NGO there, and that was very exciting for the kids. And also we try to actually, the data that they might collect, we try to publish it. Even if it's just a report somewhere, it's very, very important for the children to be able to, feel that there are results in what they're doing. So one thing that I skipped was this Gaia Greece Convention. Every year, we've made a collaboration with Gaia Israel. It's a very nice program, a similar program, but that is run in a school. And it's spread in schools in Israel, and they brought it to Greece, and the American Community School of Athens is involved, and so are we. We're basing it now here at the zoo until it's picked up by different schools. We need to promote it. It's still early stages yet, but we have an annual convention in Athens, and the children present, the students present, and we do workshops, and we do some eco action all together. But they love the idea of meeting international students and teachers, and it's just a very exciting situation. But the main ingredient for every program, we believe, is essentially care and respect. As it says here, learning how to see other human beings and nature as deserving of care and respect is the goal. And thus care and respect should also be employed as the means. So it should be a safe learning environment. It's not always easy with teenagers and us. We have feelings as well. But and I'm very strict sometimes, so that they understand that they have to complete something. It's not just all fun and games. But essentially, we really try to employ love as our teaching method, let's say. We have a good, solid team, okay? It's very important to have people that care. So on the left, my colleague Dragana, and we were at a researchers' night at the University of Athens, and we were talking to them about owl pellets and how to dissect them to see what owls eat. And I'm in the center here at our farm, and I'm holding, I shouldn't be picking up the babies, but it was too exciting not to. That's the beautiful thing about this environment, that if done properly, can really be inspirational for many people to learn. And we have many families that join and come here in order to have fun, but essentially because they're open-minded about having fun, they end up also learning and maybe even changing their lifestyles. And Konstantinos is essentially an ex-zookeeper who loves children and does many activities for the animals. So he creates devices, enrichment devices, and is very, very good at that. Okay, so I have some very preliminary results from our students, and this is from the leader, the Young Leader program. And we try to show them as well, as well as gaining information for ourselves, that this is something serious and we really care about their opinion and their progress. So we ask them, do they consider themselves leaders, and what kinds of, qualities a leader needs. And so usually it's self-related. So we find that patience and self-confidence were identified as the most common words and essentially necessary to be a leader. And only 64% consider themselves leaders. Some of them said maybe, a few of them said no. But for those that said no, we keep our eye on those kids and say, okay, what can we do to assist these children? It's very personalized, and I think it should be. And new skills achieved, a lot of animal knowledge, a lot of pedagogy or teaching skills and management of the children. And the biggest challenges were dealing with younger kids. So many of them told us, so many service learning students said to us, wow, I really have new respect for adults, new respect for parents, for teachers. So it's nice to have that situation. The summer heat for our zoo camp when we have most of our service learning young leaders. That's a problem. And we're waking early, I mentioned early, and also the new environment for those that first start. We through a Likert scale, we simply just asked them if they found it interesting or how to rate the program, challenging, educational, and fun. And most of them, interesting, educational, and fun were close to the 5, which is the best. But essentially challenging, we found that the level of difficulty, I suppose, as they interpret it, because I asked how do you interpret challenging? I suppose we could improve our survey. They said, oh, the level of difficulty. So they didn't find it very difficult, and they did say that they would prefer if we could do a lot more stuff with animal information or lectures, something that is a little bit more in depth and a little bit more serious. So these kids want more. They're thirsty for challenges. And this year we're going to be designing something that is more rich for them. But 97% would join again, and that's very positive. And we do see that they go through the process. And our future directions, we only have one room at the moment. It's just everything, storeroom, offices, everything all together. So we're getting a new and improved education center. So we're very, very happy about that because it will make our life a lot easier. We've been given a section of the farm so that we can actually engage with the farm animals even more. And this is very exciting because we believe that farm animals are probably, in human terms, the smartest, one of the smartest groups of animals that we have, and they're underrated because we eat them probably. And also we have enhanced community outreach and actions planned. So we're going to be working with the municipality for beach cleans, and we want to go to some schools that have needs and provide for those needs. So we need to out of the Zoom more collaborations, get more schools and organizations on board, and of course new projects like an acoustic. We have some new sensors that we want to try out with that were given to us, and we'll be able to maybe go to the animals and look at the listen to the frequencies. And anyway, Ms. Dragan is in charge of that, so she knows more about that. This is from a picture from the Gaia Greece convention in January in 2018 this year, and happy kids, and thank you for listening.
Well, thank you so much, Gina. That's an inspiring story. So now the floor is open for questions. So just when you have a question, unmute your microphone and take the floor. It's a free space.
Nicholas, should I kick off?
Yes, that's fine, Nicholas. It's a good also initiative to say your name when you start before you ask the question. Great.
Nicholas Watts from the Institute of Commonwealth Studies. I also work with the Commonwealth Association of Museums. And so I'd love to know, I think inspiring was the right word to describe that presentation. I thought that it was gripping, and really would like to know more about two things. One is what you do with the museums when you go out to museums, because we're interested in exploring the role of museums as out-of-school learning resources. The second question is about networks you might have with educators from other zoos who may come to visit you, if there is an emergent network, or if that's something for the CEC to engage with.
Okay, thank you for your question. We have a natural history museum here in Athens. This was our first contact, essentially. And when we go there, we essentially, it's a new collaboration, but what we did is we provided our services for them to run certain educational programs. So through our knowledge and our work here in the Education Center, we help them essentially enrich their own programs We went to the Athens Science Festival with the Friends of the Museum, and they were doing a soil experiment, and we were able to bring some animals and for our students to present. So this is the main collaboration that we have, and apart from a visit, let's say. With the botanical gardens, we went there and did workshop with them. So we did some planting, seed planting, and some basic, simple things, you know, learning more than anything. But it's essentially a collaboration for their programs and for our programs. Now, I definitely would be interested in having more collaborations with other museums, but this is, I must admit that, you know, being a zoo and essentially the only accredited zoo in Greece is can be challenging. So for forging these collaborations as you would. Now, in terms of networks with educators, I through me at the moment, there is a network. It's the European Zoo Educators Network and the International Zoo Educators Network, but there hasn't been something more solid. The IUCN CEC is really the first active network that I have been involved in, where there's regular meetings, and you know that's why I'm excited about being a part of this, because I see that it's quite yeah, quite active. So,
thank you.
Okay.
Jim Mitchell from the UK. Thank you for your presentation, really fascinating. My question was, do you have any activities with the young people which would then influence the interpretation or the running of the zoo? So, for example, would the young people get involved with decision-making in the zoo on how exhibits are portrayed to the public, or any other sort of operational side of the zoo? Do the young people have an influence on that through the program?
Great question. We involve the students in collecting the data regarding the interpretation. So when it comes to panels, when it comes to presentations, you know, they'll go and look at questionnaires, and what they will do is they will advise us. And also when they do the ethograms, they say, oh, you know, the links, they seem quite bored, you know, these days. You know, maybe we should do a study, and let's provide some enrichment, see how they behave, see how they react. And then they can advise our zookeepers that, look, you know, we've done this study, we've looked at the literature in other zoos and how they should be in the wild, and maybe we need to modify this a little bit because blah, blah, blah. So they do contribute, but it's not an organized, specific strategic process per se, but we are always open to them having a say, and they will give us their opinion on many, many things. So we do listen, but so far we don't have someone like a committee, let's say, that will go to the meetings with the head keepers or with our director, no. But they do tell us, you know, a lot of stuff, and we do share it with the rest of the staff. So, and we come back and we say, oh, you know what, your idea was used, but like I said, it's a bit unofficial at the moment, but I like the idea of it, the thought of it. So I'm going to make a note to maybe do it. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. One of the things that we're challenged with is that question of how you get young people's voices into an organisation and ensure they're heard. So be interested to hear any more on that in due course.
Yep. Yes. Yeah. We are involved in our own group. You know, essentially at the moment it's not, but we're building a database of information, and I think from this year on we should be able to really sit down with you know, zookeepers and sit down with other staff and really propose. We'd like to do this basically, you know, but I need to feel like we have a good handle on what we are proposing first. Before we go to the staff, because if we just go there just to have a meeting and it's not 100% backed up, then it'll be a failure. So, you know, taking our time on this one. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Well, thank you, Jim, for the good question and a great answer too. Anybody else has a question? Please take the floor.
So a question about your programs. I took a look at the website this morning. So I found some nice details about all your programs. And I wanted to know if you noticed any trends in popularity among the programs. I mean, are there some programs more popular than others, or among the children?
Okay, great question. Yes. This particular program, the service learning program, we have about over 150 students that come throughout the year, and there are about maybe 36 to 40 students that are annual visitors. But this has developed over the years, and there was, I think it was last year or the year before, where it just completely took off. It was word of mouth. We don't necessarily promote, we don't market these activities, and it was found out. But forging the partnerships with schools, with organizations, it's very important to have that outreach in order to get to the students. So one thing that helped immensely was having that official collaboration through the IB CAST system, where you get many students that will come for for their service hours, but then they find it so exciting, they spread the word, they tell others, and all of a sudden we get a huge amount of kids, to the point where now, of course, we've had to have that rigorous application process. We have interviews, and we haven't really had to turn anyone away, because whoever doesn't fit the program, they just end up, but very few students won't stick to it. And of course, the other program for kids is essentially, we call it the Diet of Animals. Excuse me. It's a program that is catered for all ages. It focuses on, of course, where animals live in the wild, but also their diet. And what we do is we go and we have contact with them. So anything that is related to contact with animals is so exciting and so much fun. And we can, then they touch, let's say, the giraffe, or they feed the giraffe, and then you can tell them, oh, you know what, giraffes are being, they're endangered, they're threatened in the wild because of this, that, the other. And then they go, oh, seriously, this is crazy. Why is this happening? So this is our main aim, to get people excited, inspired, and then to realize that maybe they can do something to help. Yeah. So these are the two main programs, and our zoo camps are really, really popular. We have waiting lists for those because they're 6 hours a day, and we have many activities for the kids. They love it. So yeah, it's a fun program. But I want to stress also that we always speak to them about the role of zoos, and how, that it's very, very important to protect, the natural habitats, because that's where wild animals normally live. These are special zoos, or special cases. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Georgina. We're running out of time. We can, of course, extend a little bit, but if nobody has another pressing question.
I did. Sorry, I deferred to David, but this is Nicholas, and I had just a supplementary, if that's okay. Comment as much as a question. There are two things. I was interested to hear about your working with farm animals, and there is that whole question of the welfare of factory farmed animals, and wondering if and how you dealt with that. The other thing that was impressive was the note you made about the link with mental health, or at least implicitly mental health benefits. And I think that would be very interesting to find out more about also how you document that, because obviously a lot of it would be sensitive information that you might not have as the children arrive. But I really think that's exciting, because we're starting to look at greening urban environments, and the role of zoos and access to zoos could be very important in, well, across the whole field of what CEC is trying to do, I think.
So first, with the farm animals, we incorporate animal intelligence and cognitive intelligence and emotions in our programs. It's that's basically you know, we start with that with the whole thing. What we try to do is we provide information about animals on a very holistic level, in the sense that, you know, what are animals, how are these organisms related to humans, how do we relate to them, how do we use them, you know, etc. So when we're talking about animal intelligence, we speak about how intelligent are the dolphins, what criteria do we use, you know, and the same thing with the farm animals. A lot of our staff are vegetarian and vegan. So they, you know, they will express their own opinions there. I will express my own opinions as well on the matter, but welfare is really a top priority. So, and we see a lot of kids and students that will come and they don't treat the animals, they treat them as objects, essentially, just something exciting, a toy. So this is very much in the forefront of our activities. And we actually do some, I would say sometimes unconventional, we use unconventional methods in trying to get them to understand that animals have their own personality. And one of these is basically, just very briefly, holding hands and closing our eyes and trying to communicate with our pet rat, you know, Strawberry is her name, and basically trying to understand, like, what fruit, what's, you know, Strawberry's favorite fruit. Just doing that, and then the kids come out of this mini session and they're like, oh, I think she likes grapes, and they approach the animal in a different way, because they think, oh, well, you know, she has preferences, she has choices, this is an individual. So we do various games for them to you know, understand animal welfare a bit better. Now, the second part of your question, please remind me.
Well, the first was the condition of farm animals. The second was the integration of the zoo.
Oh yes, the health. Yeah.
Well, there's mental health, and then there's the integration of the zoo into the sort of urban framework.
How zoos can be, yes. Well, it's a touchy subject, because it needs to be done properly so that the right messages are across. And we all know communication has a lot of obstacles and filters. So I don't know how easy it is, but I would definitely recommend that, you know, if it's an accredited zoo and they're keeping to the animal welfare and all the criteria necessary, that it's a wonderful place for people in urban environments to visit and really spend time. I don't have specifics. I don't have data recorded. This isn't something that we normally do, but we have just accounts of visitors that come every year with their children, and we see the progress. And I do have some recorded accounts where parents explain to us what, you know, the child might be experiencing, but I don't have specific data for that. No. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Maybe I can sneak in one question myself, and I would ask, what are you most proud of? I think it's an incredible experience, also because, as I understand correctly, it kind of originated like naturally to fill in this gap. And maybe even that makes it so powerful, because it's like organically, naturally grown, looking for a niche, and then becoming very strong by step development. What are you most proud of, if you look back on these achievements you've had past years?
I think I'm most proud of overcoming, you know, challenges that arise, because, like I said, it's so important to have a good network of collaborators. and the support necessary in your environment in order to provide these opportunities for people. So I'm very, very proud of being able to work in an institution where over the years we have established a disciplined and dedicated group of individuals, and we're all basically communicating in a way that enables the program to be successful. I think this is the base of any program, that, yes, you can take kids out to nature, but if you're not consistent, if you don't, have the right personal relations, if you're not in an environment which is why I mention this, because maybe it's a given in certain places, but the relationships, the adult relationships, maybe my experience is not so great here in Greece, and of course I've lived in England and I've lived in the US, but professional working relationships where you have good respect, where you all have a common goal, is probably the utmost. And I'm proud of being able to overcome certain challenges to be able to get that, so that we can provide for the children, have clear thoughts and good ideas. So I think that's what I'm most proud of. And the kids, of course, the children that come here. But yeah.
That's good for it. No, that's a great way of putting it. And the way I see it, as you tell it, is that you have used obstacles as a way to strengthen your team, to overcome those obstacles and become a stronger team. Human relations are at the basis of all things that we try to do. And that was also a very strong slide in your presentation.
Yeah, I think you said it in the first meeting, Peter Paul, which is basically small steps, getting successes, and that basically step by step, and just having a target and going toward that target step by step. I think actually that you put it very well, and I realized that that's what happened naturally with this program and with the things that we're doing here. So yeah, you said it.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story, and we'll share it in our closed LinkedIn group. Great online virtual hand of applause for Georgina, and I would suggest then, if you don't have any closing words, Georgina, maybe.
No, thank you for listening, and for letting me share what we're experiencing here with you. And I wish that we could all have more time to basically interact a bit more. So because but I'll be back at the meetings to listen to everyone else. So.
Okay, good to hear. Good to hear. I'll send a message this week about the next meeting. So now, just an open round of suggestions, questions for next meetings. If somebody has a strong story that they want to share, or it doesn't necessarily have to be a strong story, a story that you want to share that could be valuable for other ones, please say so. And so the floor is yours again for closing remarks.
Hi. We have a project on nature connectedness here in the United Kingdom, looking at how we connect people better with nature. And I wondered, perhaps in the future, if myself or one of my colleagues might present on that. That might be something that was interesting to the group.
Thank you, Andrew. Sounds like a very interesting option. So I'll get back to you about that. Thank you for bringing it up. Anybody else?
Hi, Peter Paul. It's Manny here. We have got a kind of like a conservation thriller, a drama called Snared, and this is to be broadcasted across Africa. And I think I've sent you, Peter Paul, the link to it. And this is one way of trying to engage those that are marginalized, and perhaps to give them a voice. And what is this real sort of issue about conservation of wild animals in all different places, particularly Africa, to be honest? And what's their view? I mean, it's a debate that has historically been Western sort of debate, so to speak. However, we try and engage the custodians of the land. What is their view? And it is being sort of broadcasted. It's a synchronized broadcast across the world, the United States, Australia, and most of the radio stations in Africa. And we're basically looking at 4 different avenues and outlets in order to make sure that we can share this particular sort of, because radio is fundamentally an amazing platform that we can towards many.
Okay, well, thank you for bringing it up, Manny, and we'll give it some attention, and we could also have one of the meetings focused on that, because it's a great content radio program and very relevant. Thank you, Manny. Anybody else wants to give some closing remarks or suggestions for a next session?
So Nicola's asking just briefly if it's worth us saying what we would like, rather than what I understand very clearly. You're asking what we can offer. I would be very interested to find out about programs around, Georgina mentioned the beach cleans, but children learning in the beach environment or a sort of near shore environment using the coastline, the beach, and so on. But I don't have a program that I can offer, so I feel a bit humble about.
No, that's fine. It's also it's about your needs too. So it doesn't have to be something you have to offer. It can also very much. This is a very good suggestion. So very concrete. So how can you involve children in the beach environment in the conservation problems that are related to this environment?
Exactly.
Okay. I put it on my list, so
yeah.
Thank you, Nicholas. Okay, well, it's almost already 11, so I suggest that we close up the meeting and say goodbye. It was wonderful having you all here and in this group from all over Europe and even Africa present. So I want to thank you all, and I want to thank especially Georgina, of course, with her presentation. And I hope to see you next time.
Yes,
Informed about it.
Great.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you, Joshua. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.